Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to my channel. This is your girl, Mommy So True.
We ride together.
We die together.
Bad marriage for life.
I'm back with another video to talk to you today. And you know, my disclaimer before I jump into this video, whenever you see anything about me using celebrities as examples, it's for example purposes only. This channel is not to offend, it's not to bash, it's not to bring people down, it's to tell it like it is when it comes to these narcissists. So hey, if you're new to my channel, from survivor to survivor, join us, subscribe, like the video if it resonates, and share your comment. Let me know how you feel. Share your opinions, your thoughts, and perspectives with me. This is a community where we're learning, we're engaging, and we're thriving post-narcissistic abuse. One of the biggest examples we have right in front of our eyes today in this world is the narcissistic relationship of Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. Today, I'm going to talk about my perspective on what I am seeing in this relationship dynamic, why I feel this is a narcissistic relationship, the facts surrounding what's happening, and just to share with you all why this is such a complex situation. Why it's hard to really pinpoint when someone is a narcissist, because most of the time they come off as these amazing people. They give great advice. They have all this confidence. They say some things that seem so validating. They make some very strong points. But when we're talking about a narcissist, we're talking about looking at the character of the person. We're not trying to embarrass, humiliate, point fingers, and bash someone for their flaws. We're pointing it out because these flaws are dangerous. These flaws are causing too much pain to these people's children, these people's spouses, their family members, and friends that are around them that don't understand what's happening. Their relationship from the beginning had so many red flags. So many red flags, and most of it came from Jada. Now, to my understanding, what I have learned about Jada Pinkett Smith is that she has a narcissistic mother. And most of how she is stems from her narcissistic mother. I have never heard much about her father. I don't know how much involvement he's had in her life, and that may be a problem too. But a lot of her influence, even till this day, seems to come from her mother. And it seems like her mother is always there, because I don't know if she's still being controlled by her mother, if her mother is still her main enabler. But it's like whenever I see Jada, I see her mom or I hear her mom, and I'm just like, dang, this woman is still living as an extension of her mother. The narcissistic tendencies are very much there. Very much there. I've watched Jada's recent exclusive interview entitled, "I Just Wanted to Stay Alive Until 4 p.m. And what I've heard is a narcissistically injured human being who has been forced to look in the mirror, who has been forced to expose themselves to the world because they've hit rock bottom." Jada is an example of a narcissist who has completely lost control, like completely. And it seems like she has hit her final narcissistic mortification, and she is now losing her shits to the world. In some ways, this is a healing journey for this woman, because in some ways, she is self-discovering who she is behind whose she's been exposing or showing the world that she is. some way, somehow, life has caught up with this woman, and she is discovering the deepest parts of herself. And unfortunately, it's being revealed to the world as if she is so completely wicked, and she is dragging her husband down, and she hates this man, and she's a horrible person. And it's sad to see, it's sad to watch, because there's levels to a narcissist. Although it's obvious this woman is narcissistically suffering or has suffered with these tendencies, it's also obvious the cry and the need for help. And that because there's levels to this, some are willing to become self-aware because they get to a place in life where they have no choice. This is when they've hit a wall in life. They can't figure it out. They don't know what to say no more. They don't know how to pretend anymore. It's like you need to face yourself or continue to be this monster that you are. And for Jada, I feel like because she is with someone like Will Smith, her exposure and the role she plays in narcissistic abuse is turning out differently because Will is an empath. Jada almost has a chance to heal from her own wounds because of the compassion and the love that Will has been showing her. Jada carries narcissistic traits, so she has pushed away everything that has been love coming from Will Smith since the beginning. She's never been able to receive his love or even reciprocate it. Not in the same way. She's given love to him in the way that she believes is love. Because for every narcissist and even every victim of a narcissist, love, the definition of love is distorted because of childhood trauma. The way these people met was traumatic. Will went after someone who was not fully willing to go after him. I'm going to show you guys a clip where we see a moment. We capture a moment of their marriage. The look on her face, the comments she's making about how she felt going into the marriage. She makes it clear this was not what she wanted. She was a confused being from the beginning, young, yes, going through her own problems, yes. But to say that someone forced you to marry them when they didn't says a lot. It explains a lot of her own delusional thoughts. She was in a lot of narcissistic pain when Will met her. She didn't know what that was. He didn't know what that was, but he was willing to love her. But looking from that time all the way until now, nobody is forcing them. These people have exposed that they've been separated for years because narcissistic people like control. For a woman to say she never wanted to be married, and for a woman like her to be known as confident, free will, you can do whatever you want, who is forcing you to now stay married? It's the need to feel like you are controlling the situation or the person. Will has completely become a puppet in the situation in so many ways. And I'm so happy for this exposure because men go through so much narcissistic abuse and it's not talked about. We're not looking at it. We're not paying attention to it. She addresses narcissistic abuse. She talks about emotional abuse. She talks about mental health. Because in some sick way, she's discovered that she's mental. She needs help.
Have a wedding. I was so pissed.
We
went crying down the freaking aisle.
Oh, getting married.
Married. Cried the whole way. I really didn't want to get married, but
We only got married because Gammy was crying.
I was under so much pressure, you know, being a young actress, being
Yeah.
young, and I was just like
pregnant.
And I was just like, I didn't know what to do, but I just knew. I was like, I never wanted to be married.
Wedding was horrible.
It was a horrible wedding.
It was a mess. Jada was sick. She was very unpleasant. Wouldn't cope. But she was sick.
was
She
sick, yeah.
didn't cooperate with
You were 6 months
anything.
pregnant at the wedding.
No, I was
How many?
3 months.
3 months pregnant. A day in my life that I wanted anything other than being married and having a family.
Wow.
From like
Well, thank the good Lord.
literally 5 years old, I was picturing what my family would be.
Wow.
Do you guys see the example of how trauma bonded this man is to this woman? To be humiliated, to accept that you are in a bad marriage, to accept that you're married to a woman who will never be satisfied with you, not sexually. She's okay with having entanglements. She's okay with having an open marriage. She's okay with being openly sexual. And nobody ever really knows how Will ever really feels because it's always about her. Always. Always. And now to the point where she's literally smearing this man's name all over the internet to not just get validation, but to prove and expose her narcissism. Because good character would handle the situation different. If this is a situation where you're not happy with your marriage, you're not happy with the man, you're not happy with your life, you'll deal with it on a hush-hush. You'll be private. You'll respect the man enough to deal with it privately. But a narcissist has to make sure that your name is ruined, your reputation is ruined, no one likes you, everyone looks at you like you're crazy, like you're the different one, like you're the one who cannot sustain them, can't handle them, your love isn't good enough, it's not strong enough, you got a problem. And they will continue to always find ways to deflect from the fact that they are the problem. And Jada is an example of that. She might have her own issues, but to go to the point where you're exploiting your husband, you're embarrassing and humiliating your family, and turn around and make it seem like you're on this healing journey, you're trying to gaslight the whole world so that we're not paying attention to the fact that you are a narcissist, sweetheart. She is the prime example of what narcissists are and how powerful they can be, how convincing they can be. The crocodile tears. It's all there. I can't help but to notice how passionate Will Smith gets when he talks about Jada. I mean, let's look at how he got up and slapped another man on public television because he offended Jada. And we're now finding out that they weren't even technically married, they were separated. But even then, he always shows his love, his compassion, his willingness to let her be free. And that's what makes me call him an empath, because he's an example of what empath men are, empath women are. They're so selfless. They're so willing to bow down, roll the red carpet, let you humiliate them. This man, it's sitting there listening to her talk about how she did not want to marry him. That has to hurt. Her body language is like, yeah, I never wanted it. You know that. Deal with it. That has to hurt. And then his daughter, my heart goes out to their children, because that has to hurt. To know that your mother doesn't feel the same way about your father. That hurts. And as a child, you don't really know how to show how you feel about that. You just learn to exist and deal with it. But the pain behind that is so real. And to see that hurts me. Another great, interesting dynamic that I'm paying attention to when it comes to Will and Jada is this almost delusional mind of her relationship with Tupac. And I'm saying delusional because Tupac is dead and gone, and I am not taking away from her love for this man. But at what point do you stop making this such a realistic part of your life when it's not realistic? I'm really disturbed by something I came up across with an interview. I have a very interesting clip that I think we should watch regarding this Tupac situation, where Willow wrote a letter to God, or to Tupac, I should say, begging for him to come back. This disturbs me because it's like, for a child to feel like I got to do something to help my mom. Mom's in pain. The only thing to help my family is to bring what mom needs. And it seems like mom needs this man named Tupac, whoever he is. She talks about him. She's crying about him. She's hurting about him. And we need him because mom is in pain. That broke me. Take a look.
You can become one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, squeaky clean image. Women love you around the world, and this is what's going on in your house. Your wife is in love with a dead man. Dear Tupac, I know you are alive someplace. I think my mommy really misses you. Can you please come back? Can you come back so me and my mommy can be happy? I wish you were here. I really do. Tupac got killed in 95, 96? Willow never met Tupac. Why is this little girl writing a letter to Tupac? Why is Will Smith's daughter writing a letter to Tupac? What is being said in that house to get this little girl not writing Santa Claus, not writing the Easter Bunny?
That's flat out weird. That's flat out weird. Why is this little girl writing a letter to a dead man? Because her mama is sitting in the house traumatizing everybody about this dead man. That is sick. That is sick. Until this day, this woman still wants to be validated about her feelings for this man. Most narcissists are so convinced by their own fantasy world, by this delusional world. They believe their own lies. It's sad, but it's real. And this is a perfect example of some of the things that narcissists do, woman or man. Like, that is completely creepy. In her recent exclusive interview about her book, she talks for Tupac for a long time. She actually talks about him longer than she talks about her marriage with Will and her family. It's like she's really stuck there. And it's funny because her relationship with Tupac, to me, sounds like they were both narcissistic. They were both narcissists. And I think that is why she feels so connected, because he was just like her. And he knew how to handle her. Will doesn't, because he's not like her. He breaks down for her. She wanted someone like Tupac who would break her down. One thing I'm truly fascinated about the most that confirms the narcissistic tendencies in Jada is she confirms what made her want Will to begin with, what attracted her to Will, what made her go through with the marriage even though she did not want to be married to this man, and what has led her to even still want to have control over him, because as much as she doesn't like him, doesn't want to be married to him, as much as she resents him, she still has not divorced him. She still is holding on to him as if she does not want anybody else to ever have this man because he's a good man. Let's listen to what she loves about this man, and let's validate ourselves as victims and confirm why a narcissist chose you, targets you. It's because of your strength. It's because of your light. Jada confirms this for us. Just listen to this for a moment.
About what did you see in Will that night? I found it really interesting because one of the things that you described seeing in him was someone who was quite adamant in taking over the world.
Yeah, he was so ambitious, you know, and in such a beautiful way. He had big dreams, and he was so joyful. He was really joyful, but grounded. And that was the part that I missed. He was grounded. It was like he'd been through some things, and he was really intelligent. So he's what you call, you know, he could go from the hood to the White House and everywhere in between, right? And I always find people like that fascinating, that have a wide range within them, places that they can go. You know, you drop Will anywhere and he's gonna figure it out and fit in.
This woman just said he was joyful, he was intelligent, he has resilience, has always had resilience, has always been a resilient man, knew how to get through things. He could damn near make it through anything. He was strong. He had dreams. He had a major vision for his life. Wow. Look at how her face lights up when she talks about what she loved about him, everything that makes him a super powerful being. But yet, somehow, he could never satisfy her. But yet somehow everything he did, she made it seem as if he was being selfish, as if it was about him, as if it was not enough for her. Nothing Will has ever done has been satisfying for Jada. Nothing. I mean, she barely talks about what she's grateful for when it comes to him. Barely. On top of that, she barely ever takes accountability She can't even make sense of why she resents him because it has nothing to do with him. And she confirms that in her interview. She has eventually come to the realization that nothing has been responsible for her happiness. Nothing could ever have made her happy. Will would have never and can never make her happy because she is the problem, not him.
You're 39 years old. Apparently, you know, on the surface, it seems like you've got everything that anyone would dream of having. But internally, there's this chronic state of discontent.
Yeah.
I often say to people, if I was a fly on the wall, but if I was a fly inside the walls.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind? 39 years old, about to turn 40.
Oh, I was in a very, very dark place. Very dark place.
Just, I remember the line I read where you said, if I got to 4 p.m. every day.
I was like, I made it. I made it. And even that was like so hard. I mean, I was really unhappy. It's just that everybody believed what I believed, which is why it was so hard for me to talk about, which is like, you've got everything. What are you unhappy about? Right? And so that's how I was feeling. You've got everything. What are you unhappy about? And that was just, I had so much shame around that because I didn't understand. And even then, there wasn't a lot of conversation around mental health. And so I was just like, fuck it. I can't keep doing this. I want out. And it was just a really, really dark time.
It's really hard to have remorse for narcissists when you've been through hell and back with more than one and you've become an awoken empath, because the old empathetic me would have been like, man, she sounds like she's trying to heal. She sounds like she's taking accountability. I hear her trying to accept her role in it. But knowing what I know about a narcissist now, I also see how she's trying to act like a superhero about the situation too, because at the end of the day, she is smear campaigning this man. She is really humiliating him and her family. So the lack of empathy has her exposing her healing journey in a very wicked way. And that is what makes her a narcissist, or that is what would make her a narcissist, in my opinion, because it's like, why do you have to do all that? Why are you doing the things you're doing? Why are you exposing the things that you are exposing? You're saying you're taking accountability, but you're doing things to make it look as though you're dragging this person down. And you're trying to tell us that you have found yourself, but you found yourself through dragging this person down. How does that make you a good person? This is what makes you a narcissist. A narcissist can say whatever they want. They can make it sound good. They can make it look good. First of all, this woman is an actress, so she knows how to act already. She has learned how to answer. She knows how to talk. She knows how to convince people with her words, with her mannerisms. But if you know a narcissist, you know a narcissist. You know that they can be so smart, they're actually really stupid. Because as smart as they think they are, their world is so chaotic and they're so miserable and unhappy because of who they are that they can't help but to project and deflect from situations, minimize situations. And one of their manipulation tactics is to act like they know they're wrong, or to act like they're taking accountability, but at the same time completely destroying the other person. It's like an emotional roller coaster. It's like You're saying one thing, but your actions show way different.
Third clip that we're about to watch shows us how conflicting a narcissist is, how confusing it is to deal with them, because they can believe in so many opposing things at once. They can change themselves depending on what the situation needs them to be. Let's watch it and try to understand what's going on.
You're a straight talker.
I am.
Except you're not sometimes.
Yeah.
Narcissists engage in a confusing form of self-expression called equivocation. Equivocation is using ambiguous language and positioning to conceal the truth. It's playing both sides of the fence.
The most confusing thing about a narcissist is the fluidity of their personality, which simply means they become whatever they need to in order to get whatever they want to, essentially proving they are shape-shifters. Narcissistic equivocation is what this phenomenon is also called. They'll say they are not into a particular thing, but then at the same time, they will also say they are into it in a different way. They are married yet separated. They are with you, yet they have not given you any commitment.
You're saying one thing, but your actions show way different. The outcome of the relationship shows way different. The outcome of your children's behaviors show way different. It doesn't matter how high up a narcissist is in status. The truth will always expose who a narcissist is for who they are. In the end, you'll always be able to determine the victim from the narcissist, because the narcissist will always spin and spiral out of control. And most of the time, they'll end up telling on themselves. I know now as an awoken empath, a narcissist tells on themselves to breadcrumb people. They fake accept apology. They fake give apologies. They fake accept accountability as a way of continuing to gaslight the situation, as a way of continuing to manipulate people to look at them as the victim in some kind of way. Still playing victim without playing victim. Professional manipulators. So I can't even sit here and say I feel sorry for Jada, because knowing that I truly see the narcissism in her, I gotta accept her for who she is. I gotta accept the character of the person that she is and leave it right there. If she is truly on a healing journey, the world will see it. But to be healing and to be destroying somebody else, you're healing to be what? A better narcissist? And the reason why I'm not convinced, this is the last clip I'm going to show y'all. This is from an expert who reads body language. This is just a little bit of how he feels about one of her interviews and her body language when she talks about her and Will, and just her as a being. And for a lot of you, you might see some of this in the narcissist that you dealt with. Their body language, the way they say things, the way they act, the way they move, how they explain stuff, the way they take offense, the way they act like they're not taking offense when they really are offended, those covert narcissists.
I'm mainly going to focus on the conversations about Will Smith, the Oscars, Chris Rock, and all that stuff. When she talks about Chris Rock first coming out on stage at the Oscars, we see a couple of things. First, we see a lot of this scratching the nose. And it's interesting because that almost feels deliberate. Like there's an itch on her nose and she's trying to get it. It doesn't seem like a subconscious gesture out of stress or nervousness. It could be. There is research that indicates that when we're stressed, the blood flow in our face changes, and that shift can cause us to, we see this kind of thing, a lot of this kind of thing. So it could be that, but it almost really seems like she's trying to get an itch deliberately in that moment. But immediately after that, her hands come down on her lap, cupped like this. Now, this position is quite common for her throughout this interview. She's often sitting like that. But what she's not always doing is pacifying, or in this case, what we call wringing or washing the hands. So we see this kind of gesture where she's doing this, which we call pacifying or adapting in the research. And adapters or pacifiers or self-soothing gestures are massage-like gestures, often repetitive, that help reduce stress. So in this moment, as she's talking about Chris Rock coming out, we're seeing that adapting. I do feel she's feeling the stress of that moment. Obviously, a very stressful topic. We're gonna move on and look at her talking about her marriage or her relationship with Will Smith and some inconsistencies that are coming up that don't exactly line up and what they might suggest.
So it wasn't like I looked at Will and said, you know.
I know, and that's the kind of, those are the kind of moments of context that I think are lost sometimes.
Listen, there was an aspect of that I was as shocked as anyone, because Will and I hadn't been referring to each other as husband and wife since 2016. I was like, wife? Me? That's right. I am. I'm okay. That's right. I am your wife. I had no idea that was none whatsoever. And I came as family. I actually didn't go to the Oscars as Will's wife. Will and I had been like, we weren't living as husband and wife since 2016. I was happy he asked me to go.
Okay, so again, right in the beginning, we have this mocking. It's not like I looked at Will and said, you know, like she's joking like about how it's not like I looked at him and I signaled him to go do something. Again, she's addressing that public opinion of people saying, you know, she was the one who caused them to go do that. Then we go into this very confusing little bit where she says that she wasn't there as his wife, she was there as family, which, I mean, that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, because like, what does that mean? Like, were you there as his great aunt, twice removed? Like, what do you mean? You were there as family and you're not his sister or his niece, so clearly you were a significant other. So we're getting caught in semantics here that she's using to justify how she was confused when he used the word wife. She was like, me? I'm the wife? Oh yeah, that's right, I'm the wife. And to me, that's a little bizarre, because given the fact that they're not divorced on paper, given the fact that we don't know the details of what's going on with their relationship, wife would have been a very acceptable thing for him to use to talk about her. I mean, did she really expect him to go back to his seat and be like, keep my ex-wife that I still live with and we're not divorced on paper and things are a little rocky and we're kind of seeing other people, and she had this thing with our son's friend, but we talked about it at the red table, so we're totally working it out. Name out your mouth. Like we know who the wife is. So if she was confused at him using the word wife, she would have been the only person in that room to be confused by the use of the word wife. And I think the reason she's doing this, you know, throwing this confusion as the title wife, is to preempt how rocky or indecisive they were about the status of their relationship, because that will play to her favor. It's important for us to know that for some time now, since 2016, there really hasn't been much certainty. But we're going to see that fluctuate. We're going to see that certainty fluctuate moving forward.
I understand why people blame me. I don't think it's right, but I understand. You know, considering the narratives that were out there, I have to take responsibility for that. And I talk about that in the book. You know, me being the adulterous wife that had, you know, pushed Will to his limit. I get it. So I couldn't even take any of it personally. And I had to put myself in the shoes of the audience and go, if I was looking at this, what would I say?
So there are things about this segment that I liked and that actually gave me a bit of relief. And one that I think a lot of you noticed. And she says, I get it. We see what we call a chin thrust. And we got this nice side angle where she goes, I understand. You know, it's not nice, but I understand. And then she goes, I get it. And we see that chin kind of come forward. Now, this is something that often signals an offense, like going offensive on something. We often see this kind of thing when things are getting heated, when things are about to get aggressive. And I'm not saying it's overly aggressive. I'm not saying it's this big hidden aggression, but I do think that she has a problem with this narrative out there, that she's the cause of this.
Thank you so much for watching this video, for your engagement. And I'm just going to leave it right there. It's your girl, Mommy So True. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time, beautiful people, stay blessed and stay true.